Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour. With it, I'm Shifarao Lako. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and President Paul Kagame have discussed ways of enhancing ties between Ethiopia and Rwanda. The two leaders have also exchanged views on bilateral and regional issues of mutual significance. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has extended gratitude to President Paul Kagame for the warm welcome afforded to him and his delegation. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has also paid an official visit to Uganda yesterday. The Prime Minister appreciated Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni for the warm welcome accorded to his delegation upon arrival in Kampala. According to the Premier, the two had important deliberations on various bilateral and regional issues. He hopes that similar meetings will be held between the two soon. Now, more than 40 OLF Shene terrorist members have been killed in a joint operation by National Defense Force and Oromia Special Forces in West Guji Zone, Oromia State. That's according to the government. Continued offensive has been launched against members of the terrorist group who were trying to infiltrate and create potential havoc in different cities. Goshumal tells you more.
The OLF wing Shene has continued committing massacres in different parts of Oromia after it officially announced signing a pact with the TPLF. According to Girmayele, mission coordinator of the Southern Command, the terrorist Shene, which has not dared to fight the Ethiopian army, continued to terrorize the society, reverberating TPLF's fabricated propaganda of controlling cities and towns. The group has also been committing atrocities against innocent civilians to irritate the government and people of Ethiopia. In a joint operation by the National Defense Force and Oromia Special Force, Colonel Girma said more than 40 OLF Shene terrorists have been killed.
In a recent operation in Oromia State, West Guji Zone, the Gallant National Defense Force and Oromia Special Forces have killed over 40 terrorists. 35 others have been wounded and 2 held captive.
Offensive has been continued against members of the terrorist group who were trying to infiltrate and create potential havoc in cities.
The terrorist Shene has tried to infiltrate and vandalize properties in Oromia State West Guji Zone, but the National Defense Force has foiled the act. We have found members of the TPL fighting along Shene in Oromia. Local authorities, security forces and communities are fighting with us to destroy the terrorist group. Since we are working closely with the community, there will be no more threat. Following the offensive, the terrorist members are being dispersed to different directions and we are hunting them down to eliminate them once and for all to free the region.
A recent report by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission indicates that more than 200 ethnic Amaras were massacred by OLF Shene in East Wallagga zone of Oromia Regional State.
Now, Ethiopian ambassador to South Africa says the international community's interference on Ethiopia's internal affairs is tantamount to arming the TPLF. Talking to the South African Broadcasting Corporation, the ambassador has criticized some global media outlets for their biased and groundless reporting on Ethiopia. Jerusalem Butse has more on that from SABC News.
Talking to the South African media, South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, Ethiopian ambassador to South Africa, Shifarao Teklemariam, explained current affairs of his country. Shifarao mentioned that terrorist group TPLF rejected the unilateral ceasefire the Ethiopian government declared to allow peaceful farming conditions and safe humanitarian operation in Tigray, and that the terrorist has continued atrocities to the wider communities in the two regions.
They took like an opportunity to regroup themselves and also prepare for further invasion of the neighboring regional states, and also against the intent of the unilateral ceasefire. They forced the farmers to join the rebel group or the rebel intention. Therefore, as we speak, both the humanitarian as well as the people mindset and also the intention to silence the guns, it didn't work. Rather, TPLF is now moving further. This is, as we have been saying all the time, to Amara and the Afar regional states. And also they started to create an alliance with other terrorist groups in the region as well as in the country.
Some Western countries are aggressively working to create puppet government in developing countries like Ethiopia. Unfortunately, they are not ready to understand the visible facts in Ethiopia. That's why the United States and some Western countries have been continuing blaming Ethiopia for the humanitarian situation, denying the fact on the ground, he said.
No one is condemning the cause of this crisis. No one is trying to address that the real cause of such humanitarian as well as human rights, as well as any kind of acquisition, including now the invasion to the neighboring regional state. And you just say concern is not enough. And you have to say it very well, very clear, very crystal clear. When the terrorist TPLF is attacking the neighboring regional states, those people still keep on saying we have a concern, a grave concern, a serious concern, this and that. It has to say, it has to clearly indicate who has the problem.
Shifarao underlines their interference and pressure on Ethiopia's internal matter is unacceptable.
Interference on the internal affairs of Ethiopia, also an issue which is now known to incentivize this rebel group as well. So stopping such kind of interference on the internal affairs of a nation.
Ethiopians and friends of Ethiopia have always been baffled by the visible bias in Tigray-related stories published by media outlets. Most of these media outlets have continued working against Ethiopia to the point of becoming propaganda machines of the terrorist TPLF, he said. Shifarao also criticized some global media for their biased and groundless reporting on Ethiopia.
The international media and also the continental media need to be very sure on their own narratives. And whenever there are a certain issue or fact in their hands, I think they should have a liberty and courage to cross-check those facts with the government authorities as well. Otherwise, a biased, unsubstantiated facts, they will not help anyone, but on the other hand, they will contribute to the escalation of the current challenge.
Regarding the recent Human Rights Watch report that says that Tigrayans in Addis Ababa now are being held without evidence of crimes simply for being Tigrayans, Shifarao reacted this way.
From what they reported and from what I read, that is exactly what they are doing. They are not there to listen what the government was trying to let them understand and let them to listen, but they are not also willing to reciprocate the same massacres that's happening by the terrorist group. In fact, from the statements they made and from the accusations, the mechanism, even they gather their own information, is basically from those sympathizers of the terrorist group. So if you are gathering your information from the sympathizers or the members of TPLF, whether in the country or outside the country, what kind of report is one is going to produce? It's the same, and 100%, no confusion about this. They are going to say what they are saying. But the same Human Rights Watch, if they were there to counter-check, fact-check what have been said was who was targeted and for what reason, then they could have come with the proper and a reasonable report rather than accusing one side and incentivizing the other side.
Now, a stronger policy framework has been implemented in the country to support small startups and private businesses to transform Ethiopia. The remark came at the 9th International Science and Technology Research Workshop held at the Bahar Dar University. Kasaun Chane has more on that.
Bahar Dar University is hosting an international workshop on science and technology, the 6 technological solutions for societal matters. Speaking at the opening of the workshop, Minister of Innovation and Technology, Abraham Balai, calls on tech professionals to strengthen cooperation for the advancement of creativity, research and technology. The Minister pointed out that the government has embarked on multifaceted technological projects to transform the nation through digitalization.
በሀገር ደረጃ የኢኖቬሽን የቴክኖሎጂ ስራዎች
We have developed a strong policy which has been supporting tech business, including small startups in the country. We are making policy provisions to improve our support to private sector endeavors. It is critical to help those who do have the skills but not the resources to succeed.
President of Bahar Dar University, Freot again on his part underscored that the Polytechnic Institute of Bahar Dar University is playing its part in the advancement of science and technology in the country.
ከባህር ዳር ዩኒቨርሲቲ የተመረቁ በአገር ውስጥ ያሉ
There are plenty of Bahar Dar University graduates who contributed to the advancement of science and tech locally and globally. We can mention Engineer Taojigu, who worked for NASA, as an example. An innovation called DAN, which is being used to install elevators in modern buildings in the country, is a product of our Polytechnic Institute. There are many graduates of Bahar Dar University who are currently working for Airbus and Boeing.
The workshop has brought together innovators, policy makers, scholars and professionals in tech and science.
Overall macro stability is by and large, I think, on a promising track, except inflation.
What is the solution for that? It's not a question of increasing the supply simply by production, but by doing proper intervention in the marketing system.
Financial liberalization is only reserved for Ethiopians or Ethiopians by birth. Liberalization has been kept as like selling the country.
We have seen recently what's happening in this economy. No one gave us a support. What I am hearing and what you are hearing today, the outsiders, the Westerners, rather are trying to kill us. I can use this term, killing us, okay, in all aspects. Even we didn't mention on the inflationary process. There might be some sabotaging behind it, coming from multinational corporations, okay? It is only when we are strong in our economic base, led by Ethiopians, that we can fight and that we can stand them. If you are dependent on them, you will die eventually.
Welcome back. You're still watching Addis News Hour. Kenyan tour operators eye Ethiopia's tourism industry to beef up regional integration. The tour operators suggest Ethiopia should aggressively work on the tourism market and promotion sector. Alula Teklemariam reports.
Africa represents a continent of almost infinite tourism potential, and yet it lags far behind the rest of the world as a tourist opportunity. Ethiopia and Kenya share a significant geographical feature, the Rift Valley, and both have substantial assets in terms of flora and fauna. Ethiopia, regarded as the cradle of human origin, has substantial historical, exemplified by the historic route, is urged to modernize its tourism sector. Briefing Kenyan tour operators here in Addis, CEO of Tourism Ethiopia, Sleshi Girma, mentioned tourism development is key for regional integration and called on Kenyans to play their share in doing so.
This year seems very difficult year due to COVID and other circumstances, but as Tourism Ethiopia, we were fortunate that we have been engaged and achieved several things. We cleaned our houses, and now we are more than ready to welcome tourists. So we want this stage to be our Kenyan counterparts to understand Ethiopian tourism is really growing much. The tourism thinking in general is at regional level. It cannot be achieved at a country level. I am anticipating the Kenyan tour operators will not only sell Kenya, they will be also able to sell Kenya and Ethiopia combined. We will give the same direction to the Ethiopian counterparts, the tour operators, not to sell only Ethiopia, to also sell Ethiopia and Kenya together.
The visiting Kenyan tour operators on their part pledge to contribute share in promoting Ethiopia's tourist sites and to closely work with their Ethiopian counterparts for beefing up the partnership of the two countries. While visiting the National Museum of Ethiopia in Entoto Park, they highly praised Ethiopia's initiative to galvanize its tourism sector and the way it handles its heritage.
Kenya can learn and will learn a lot from Ethiopia. One of the things we're learning from Ethiopia is a tourist attraction, just like what we have back in Kenya. Secondly, the hospitality that Ethiopians have. The love that you have for people, for your neighbors. I think this is something that we Kenyans are very proud, because even we Kenya, we love our neighbors, and you in particular, we love Ethiopians very, very much indeed. And we're very happy indeed for I think it's it's very unique, and we must be very appreciative of the Prime Minister, because what he's doing for this country is something that all African countries should emanate.
For me, it's very humbling, considering we've learned a lot about Ethiopian history since I was in school. So for me, coming to Ethiopia as my maiden trip, it's been great, and I can attest to the fact that it's a very beautiful country, very beautiful people, and very warm people. And the sites that we've visited so far are very awesome.
Well, number one is Ethiopians are very courteous, very friendly, hospitable. And then I'm actually shocked. I didn't expect Addis to be this beautiful. This place we are in right now is out of this world. It's the most serene place I've ever been to. It's like you're standing on top of the world. We've gone to a museum. I think it's National Museum of Ethiopia, and I rediscovered history, and we've really enjoyed. I think Ethiopia is a niche market for luxury travel, and it's something that I will take up, packages that can sell to the luxury market.
And then city tour. City tour, we visited King Haile Selassie National Park and Entoto Park. Very, very nice place, and then a park in the city, and the nice view in the city. It's amazing. As we go back to Kenya, we are going to motivate other travel agents to market Ethiopia destination, because Ethiopia needs Kenya, Kenya needs Ethiopia.
Meanwhile, they suggest Ethiopia to be aggressively working on the market sector and promotions.
Aggressive marketing? Yeah. Before, I didn't know Addis looks like this, to be frank. I think your marketing, probably it's when you're starting to come up and start marketing Ethiopia. But your country is really beautiful. You should be more aggressive. Kenyans are very aggressive in marketing tourism. We have over promoting and marketing.
I won't say much because I don't know how the government of Ethiopia is handling the two operators in Ethiopia, but it's about motivation. If the government motivates the two operators, I know things are going to work. And during COVID, things has been low, but when the government supports the two operators, things are going to work. And I believe in the government as well.
I would say that and affirm by the fact that we've been doing tours to other African countries, and as tour operators, our work is once we have a familiarization trip of somewhere, we'll go back and package and also bring more people to Ethiopia. So definitely this is going to increase and bring more people to Ethiopia, more so from Kenya.
Planning to visit various historical and cultural sites, the Kenyan tour operators are here in Ethiopia for a 4-day official visit. Their visit is anticipated to be acknowledged and experience sharing in the tourism industry.
And finally, African leaders attending a summit in Germany renewed calls for COVID-19 vaccine waivers, saying the decision would allow countries to access to affordable jabs. Africa has administered the least vaccines of any continent, while some richer countries have inoculated nearly their entire adult populations. African countries have mostly relied on multilateral and bilateral donations. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa called the unequal access to vaccine not fair. Here is what he said.
We expressed our disappointment, we expressed our unhappiness, and said that it's not fair that Africa has only vaccinated 2% of the entire population of the 1.3 billion population, and yet your more developed countries in the north have vaccinated up to 60%.
The German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who has rejected calls to waive vaccines patents, said it was a dramatic injustice that Africa's vaccination rates remained low.
The availability as well as the production of the vaccines is linked to the economic well-being of the African continent. And when we see today that we have vaccinated more than 60% of our population and that it is just 2% in Africa, it is of course a dramatic injustice which we need to overcome. We talked about that honesty today.
Finally, a quick reminder of the top stories. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed discusses with leaders of African nations. And African leaders renew calls for vaccine equity at the Berlin summit. That's all the news there is for now. Many thanks for watching us, and bye-bye.